humans have been trained historically to not have what they want. And then when they see other people get what they want, they get jealous.
Spirituality and capitalism belong together. Those thoughts, those feelings, that comes from something bigger than I am. And together I believe we can all grow. That's how we're going to change the world. That's how we're going to change the planet.
William, my man, how you doing?
Good.
Good, man. I'm so happy to have you out here.
Good to be here with you.
Man, your name lately has been coming up so much. A lot of the guests that have been coming on, they all know you. And they always talk about Upgrade, how it changed their life and what it's doing. How does it feel to be part of something that big?
Oh, man. That's a heavy question. I'm the lucky one, really, that have been able to serve these people along the way. And I think that we're really just getting started. So with Upgrade, the goal is to upgrade humanity. So we like to work with people that already are working or influencing other people at a certain scale and are doing good work for humanity. And we just happen to have designed who we want to work with, and they show up.
Now, I know what that means. I know what it means to design who you want to work with and they show up. But what does that mean?
It means that most people don't know what they want. And when you do use your mind to design what you want, it's almost like magic. What they design shows up. Now, it's actually natural, but people don't know it's natural because they've spent majority of their lives thinking about what they don't want.
When you say it's natural, though, what do you, like, explain to me a little bit more about that. Like, explain to me when you say this is natural, because most people are going to say, no, man, because you ask somebody like, hey, what do you want? And they spend all the time telling you what they don't want. Do you think from a young age we knew exactly what we wanted and how to get it?
Yeah, in a way, we deep inside know what we want, but over time we have masked it. Not everyone, right? Some people know it very well, know what they want, but majority of the population, I would say, have masked what they want. And some people will say, I serve others first. I take care of other people first in the family before myself. There's a lot of people with that mentality. And then there's also people that have been told their whole life, you don't need this. You don't need that. When they go to the store, they want something, their mom used to tell them, you don't need that. So humans have been trained historically to not have what they want. And then when they see other people get what they want, they get jealous. It's a fascinating cycle. Fascinating cycle. What we must do is to free ourselves by beginning to understand that when we want something, instead of masking it or suppressing it, allow ourselves to write it down, design it, put it somewhere sacred or somewhere openly, whatever. Having it documented, listing out what you really want, actually redirects the mind's attention. People focusing on what they don't want still create what they don't want, because we create what we want, what we focus on. And if we want to create what we want, we need to focus on what we want.
I love that. And I agree with you. I mean, I remember when I was younger, starting companies and doing those things, I had my phone, right? So just it's off right now, but I had my phone. And on it, I had a track that I had written, and I listened to it every single night about focusing on what I want to get it into my subconscious. I've always been, into hypnosis and NLP and a lot of that stuff. And you're a certified master hypnosis or NLP practitioner, correct?
Yeah. So it's a funny story. I mean, those are just titles and stuff, right? So when I first started, I was a practitioner, and then I became a master practitioner, became a trainer, then became a master trainer. There aren't too many of us with the American board, but nowadays it's not just also the title, it's the can we actually do what we say we can more than anything.
That's what I respect about you the most. I mean, truly, as a human being, I've been working with you for quite some time now, and what I respect about you the most is that you're always asking, can we do this? Can we change humanity? Can we actually make a big difference in the world? Because you're taking really high achievers and business owners and leaders, I mean, from all over the world, and you're working with them to merge their conscious and the subconscious so they want the same thing. And that sounds like some kind of like hoodoo voodoo right there, right? Like, wait a minute, you're doing what? Because so many of us are running on old programs. We're running on, things from the past. We're running from all these experiences. But what I watch that you do is that you don't just take something from a book that you once knew or from a training. You're creating your own programs. You're creating your own training. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that for the most part, that what you are doing is partly hypnosis and partly NLP and other modalities that you've learned and other people you're aligning yourself up with. But you're just simply showing like, hey, listen, I'm going to help change you from the inside out. I'm going to change your mindset. And as I change your mindset, your results are going to change as well. How are you constantly pushing this? Because one of the things that fascinates me about you as a person, not about upgrade. Upgrade's great, but this is about you. How do you continue to push your limits? How do you continue to expand? I mean, if I look on social media, all of a sudden, you are always giving yourself rewards for the things that you accomplish. I'm like, oh, William did it again, because it's very obvious. I can see it like physically. But how do you constantly pushing your knowledge and pushing this program in a place where there hasn't been a whole lot of innovation for a very long time?
I love this question. This is definitely a question coming out of deep insight, so really appreciate that. I put myself in a situation where I have to. So allow me to explain. Growth and expansion and becoming more, oftentimes it's not a have to, it's a want to. And humans have historically been trained, as we were previously talking about, to get what they have to, or like what they need, right? Like at the store, mom saying, you don't need that. They only get what they need. Well, I realize I've been trained the same way. And all day long, I can write down what I want. Paradoxically, my mind may or may not produce them. My mind, however, will produce what I have to produce. So I place myself strategically in situations where I have to grow. When you're faced with that have to grow scenario, your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom, your skills all have to grow with it. So, and along with that, I'll give you a very specific example. I tend to take on clients, and I'm very blessed to be able to have people come to us that are high achievers already, wanting to do even more. Well, we have these individuals that come to us. They are doing incredible things. And as they commission us to help them, we have to. And so I specifically designed to work with those clients that forces us to have to grow to be able to help them. That may sound very simple, but imagine taking on someone who makes 100 times or 1,000 times more money. Not just financially now, they're also doing very, very, very well in other departments of their lives. That makes you feel like, wow, I could improve. Yet they came to us and they asked, how can I improve, right? Now, most people will battle with imposter syndrome, and they're like, oh, I worry I don't measure up. What do I have that can coach these people? These were questions I used to ask in the beginning, 7-8 years ago. But that's not a question I ask anymore. What I am doing is I deliberately seek out clients that are doing that so that I can aggregate my data. I can learn from these people that have already, they're not only in the 1%, some of them are in the 0.01%. What are they doing? How did they overcome their challenges? How have they grown even in the midst of already an excellent life? So I take all of that and I basically decode them into like an algorithm. And then I measure that against other clients that do the same thing or come from similar demographics or different demographics. And I aggregate that data and I say, this is how one can skip 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 decades of ridiculous hard work and sacrifices and making bets that nobody would know if it will work out or not. They can skip them now because we can aggregate this data, package it, distribute it for further testing. So I look at it as more of a data science, but applied in social settings.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I think that makes you brilliant is because you have this background in data science. Like when I look at you, I'm like, oh, you're like a data scientist, but you're working on the conscious and the subconscious mind at the same time. And I find that to be fascinating because if the forefathers from NLP and hypnosis, if they'd come before that and they'd had some of the backgrounds on computers and they understood what was going on with the zeros and ones like you do when it comes to programming, I think they could look at it in a much different way. So one of the things that I still find baffling, I go to your training, and as I walk into your training, I'm pretty content, pretty happy with my life. I'm like, cool, I've accomplished these things. It's great. My health, pretty happy.
You've done great things.
Amazing things. And I'm really grateful for those. But I had gotten complacent, and we had talked about this. Then all of a sudden I do your training, and you talk about in that training, you gave me permission, I suppose. I don't exactly know how this all went. If I was to look back, I don't exactly know how it happened, but to have this thought process of why or what it would look like to become a billionaire and why that would be important. Not from a perspective of just making a bunch of money, but like what can you actually do in the world if you were able to have that type of impact? What is it you do that is able to make somebody that once thought this way and their life is fine, they're walking down the path, and all of a sudden having a whole different process that it's not even like, is it going to happen? It's like, oh yeah, I know it's going to happen. I don't exactly know how, but I know it's going to. And it isn't something that it's a con. It doesn't feel like an affirmation. I'm not sitting in the mirror and like, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. No, it just feels natural. How do you do that? Like what is happening there with the conscious, subconscious mind? And my next part to that question is, if it can be in that area, what am I not seeing or what am I not doing that's allowing that to be that impactful in other areas of my life? Like, why would that one thing be so impactful when I had no desire about it in the beginning?
It's a beautiful question. Once again, another question that comes from deep thinking. You know, I'll frame it this way. Much of the personal development, self-help, or seminar world has been based on this concept of breakthrough. I want to have a breakthrough in this. And that saying of breakthrough is a very popular saying. Even businesses or individuals who've never been through any self-help or self-development type training will use that word. Oh, there's a breakthrough, right, in our development or in this or that. Well, the problem with breakthroughs is that if you look at the linguistics of that word, breakthrough presupposes breaking through what? Existing dogma, boundaries, social expectations, old programmings, and all the things I haven't even mentioned. Breakthrough presupposes resistance. And you have to break through this layer, depending on how thick it is, the boundary, this layer of boundary or boundaries that you break through, it actually causes oftentimes stress, anxiety, and a lot of pain, a lot of energy, a lot of sacrifice. Well, then what do you do if you want that kind of result, right? One more thing I got to point out. Having a breakthrough typically means a breakthrough in one area, but not all the other areas.
Right.
Because breakthrough directionally and visually, you can imagine is a breakthrough in one direction. Well, typically you don't visualize multiple breakthroughs. That would be a different concept. What we have noticed is that's a very linear process, which costs time, money, energy, and a lot of opportunities. We developed a system where we can upgrade someone's operating system in their mind, much like going from Windows XP to the latest iOS or even MS-DOS style operating system to the latest, right? The benefit isn't just a breakthrough in one area, it's like all areas. What I'll say is simply, we're expanding your boundary rather than we're breaking through the boundary. If I expand your boundary, your mind can hold in your comfort zone far more. So you're comfortable with a lot more. But if you just have a breakthrough, there will be still all the other things that you're uncomfortable with that may actually pull the individual back into the old comfort zone. So
retreating back to what they know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Okay, I could see that. I could see that if you're looking at it from the perspective of a breakthrough going straight through, or if you're having a breakthrough where you're going in multiple directions, which leads me to another thought. You and I have had conversations many times about psychedelics. You know, I'm a huge fan of psychedelics, and I know it's something you have not done, correct?
Oh, I've done.
Oh, you've done psychedelics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How do you think psychedelics and the type of work that you're doing can work together? Do you think if we can break down the subconscious? Because for me personally, when I'm able to break down my mind, right, like to get into that subconscious level in a place where there's total resistance, and then it then becomes total ease, at that point in time, is there a way that we can start to then embed or impact the subconscious mind to bring on different belief systems and ideals in a way that would be almost like brainwashing, but brainwashing from a perspective of what would be beneficial for somebody that they choose, not something that's being done to them?
Allow me to re-answer what you said about psychedelic. I can't say that I haven't done it. How's that?
You can't say that you haven't done psychedelics.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually a big supporter of properly using psychedelics when you need that expansion of consciousness. What I do think is a lot of times it takes away the work, not for you necessarily, but for some people out there, the work that it takes for them to master their mind. So think of it like this. Psychedelic is like a key, almost like a master key that can open doors. But we don't always know where that door leads to.
With intention, though, does it matter where it leads to as long as we have the intention of where we're going? Because there's never a bad trip. There's simply a trip.
It depends on the individual. Because I'm sure you've met people that have gone on some bad trips.
Oh, I've personally gone on bad trips.
Now,
Like I said, though, it's just been a trip, but I have learned from it, though. And the next time I went through it, there's either a different level of respect or a different way of doing it. But what I find is that they're always unique in themselves. They're always different. They're never the same. And so with that, I can understand you saying maybe, would you say for someone that's, I don't want to say weak-minded because that doesn't make any sense, but when you're saying that
there are plenty of people that are weak-minded. It's okay to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying those people are weak-minded shouldn't be doing psychedelics, or are we saying that people that are trying to get a quick fix?
They should absolutely not do it.
Got it.
Because they'll open doors to places they don't know.
Because it will open new dimensions. I agree with you on that.
And they will be influenced in those worlds by things and or energy or beings that they are not able to handle. And so the trips that everyone go on is different, but some people are going to have a safer trip than others. And if someone is highly untrained in the mind, where I wouldn't say necessarily just lack discipline, because there are plenty of disciplined individuals that will actually get themselves in trouble. But it's the ability to control their thoughts, ability to resonate with a certain level of thoughts over a long period of time. So a great test, in my opinion, would be, can I place this person in a dark room, no sound, no visuals, for over 24 hours, and for them to walk out peacefully and feel good? If they have that level of control of their mind, I would say a psychedelic could be a great helper.
How long have you been in a room in the dark by yourself?
Roughly 72 hours.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
That teach you a lot about yourself?
Tons.
Yeah.
Tons.
What was the outcome that you got from that? What was the big takeaway?
So when you shut yourself off from the stimuli of this world, and the only place to go is inward, and even when your eyes are open, it feels like you're going inward, then you are essentially forced to go inside. And when you go inside, even with or without any psychedelic, you'll find that there are portals. You'll find that there are doors that you can go and explore, metaphorically speaking, and or not so. And what you'll find is there are information about your past, your future, your current self, and or other things that you're connected to. And you're far clearer because there's absolutely no distraction. Now, if someone has not managed and or resolved a lot of the trauma issues or negative programs, they're running on old operating systems. They're not going to be able to efficiently or effectively handle that dark room experience. That's why it was traditionally and historically only given to highly trained monks in the old days. And I don't know who, I haven't read up on the modern history of the darkroom meditation and who brought it to light, in a sense.
Right.
And but it's now quite popular around, you can find a resort that literally takes care of everything, and you can just go and they'll serve you meals in the dark and all that. But I just did it in my own basement. Very simple.
Yeah, I love that you're always pushing the boundaries, though. Just like your business partner, Michael. Like, you guys are always pushing those boundaries. Like, okay, which I can relate to. So, because I mean, we don't know what we're capable of. Like, I don't know what I'm capable of until I actually put myself in those positions and try things and continue to move forward. Because one of the things I love about what you teach is that which I've already believed a long time ago, but you really break it down like a lot deeper, and that is that we're creating our own reality. But in order to create our own reality, we have to bring in all the pixels. Can you explain what you mean by pixels to people that wouldn't come close to understanding that because they're not familiar with your education?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I have an old friend who is actually an expert in the field of remote viewing. And he once asked me and others if we've been to Paris and seen the Eiffel Tower. And we're like, yeah, I have. And some others have also. And he said, have you licked it? And I'm like, that's gross. Why would I do that? He said, well, you don't know how it tastes like then. I'm like, and I don't wish to. He's like, that's not the point. The point of the exercise is for you to have visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory data of the world that we live in. And the more of that data you have, the easier it will be for you to recreate that inside. And the relationship between the internal and the external world is far more intimate than what people may believe. So being able to have all that data from the external world, this vessel we call body is really a translation device, a transmitter and a receiver. So if we can get that data in, we can then create a set of new data and send it back out that represents reality more accurately, which contributes to our ability to create in the physical.
And so how would somebody go about doing that? If they wanted to create something, say in the next couple of years or next 6 months, what would they do?
One of the best first strategies is to sit down in a quiet place, maybe play some nice music that they enjoy without words. Key is without words, because then their thoughts aren't influenced by words. It's just melody and something pleasant. And they would begin to write down an exhaustive list of desires from things they want that are material. Now, if someone's like, I'm not material, well, then write down experiences that they desire. But we do live in a material world. Even the food we eat is material. So we need to let go of judgment of having material things is bad or is only, I had a friend one time that was like, hey, if you're rich, you're taking from the poor people. Which is so strange because if you do the math, poor people don't have much to give in terms of financially, right? Just numbers. They can't really give the rich people. Of course, over a large volume, that they could, but rich people actually take from other rich people. But it's not a take-take relationship. It's more of a exchange. So it's a misconception in a lot of levels. But if someone has a despise or jealous factor or they don't like being materialistic, I would say they take a hard look at the mirror and ask themselves where they began that belief. It was probably something traumatic or negative about money that actually has nothing to do with the truth. So I recommend writing down material wants, experiential wants, relationship wants, personal desires for self, like maybe growth wants. Write down an exhaustive list, but I would say if they don't hit 100 total or even more than that, they're not done. Because majority of our lives have been bombarded with negative things. You look at media, and some would say it's intentional programming. I would say, well, it's just negative things get more attention, therefore it sells. So it's just the nature of being profitable for a lot of these businesses. So humans have been brought up in this society thinking negatively, so they haven't trained their mind to focus on what they really want. This is an opportunity to download that onto a sheet of paper, and then that would be the first step.
I love it. That technique, that practice changed my life. Like, to be able to be like, oh, okay, like I didn't realize these things were running in the background. I didn't realize that these are things I even wanted or desired. So the show here is about spirituality and capitalism, right? And I know you love to dissect things. Like, you have this analytical mind. You see things from the conscious, subconscious. You also see things from other realms of, spiritual practice and so forth. Is just as much as like sitting in the dark. When we look at these two concepts of spirituality and capitalism, most people don't think they belong together. They think that they're opposite. And so when we're fighting back and forth, well, if capitalists are wrong and running a business is wrong and you shouldn't do this and you're taking from, like you just said, taking from people, well, then why would you ever want that? And then you have the other side that's spiritual, which I think most people that are business owners typically are more spiritual in a lot of aspects, at least the people I know, or just people I get to associate with. But if we look at both of those sides of the coin, right? We look at spirituality and we look at capitalism. How do we bring those two things together to the masses so they can see they're one of the same? And how do we put practices in place to where people can finally understand, like, this is part of this experience? Like having things, Ferraris and Lamborghinis or whatever you want to have, or brand new pianos or houses or whatever. That's just stuff. It's things, and it's fun to enjoy them. Doesn't define who we are, of course. But how do we take and just let everybody know, hey, this is your birthright. You want to do these things. You want to put in the work, whether it's visualization and putting those things together. They can actually have those things.
Yeah, excellent question again. I think that some would say all things are first created spiritually. The physical existence of things is our own made-up separation. It's all spiritual, and it's all material in a sense. It's a strange concept to a lot of people, but I think there's a good analogy. I think you've probably heard this, and many viewers probably have heard this. A guy goes on a cruise ship, and he brings a suitcase of ramen, like instant ramen noodles, right? And then every day, all the guests, his neighbors, all go to the nice, all-inclusive restaurant. They all have dinner. They have steak, lobster, or whatever options they got and they want. And last day comes around, his neighbor's like, hey, we never see you at dinner. Like, do you want to come with us? He's like, oh, no. I brought ramen. He's like, well, you know the meals are included. And it was the last day of his trip. He's like, oh, no. This whole time, I didn't know, right? Now, that sounds like a silly story, and it does happen still. Even to this day, right? Some people go on cruise ships, then they don't know it's included. Well, how many people on Earth know that it's actually their birthright to win in the material world? Most people don't. Most people are like, no, I just do what I'm told. A lot of people are like, well, this is what my father or mother made, or, oh, this runs in the family. They don't understand that this world is a whole new world every day. They get to decide, right? And they can do it ecologically. They can do it so that it's win, 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 win. And when people live their whole life, and then at the end of their life, they're like, wow, all this time I didn't spend enjoying. I was just doing what I was told that I should. That's not a healthy life. And so when we connect spirituality and physical together, what I think is people need to understand they're interconnected and they're not separate. And that in order to truly master the spiritual, one also must master the physical.
I love that. Your answer is spot on. Couldn't have said it that way, but I believe it that way. That was so well said. Tying those two things together and realizing that it happens before, like the mind, the thoughts, the gratitude, it happens before something that physical shows up. And I believe personally that when we put something out there, right, when we give it enough information, enough data, as you would call it, it's walking towards me. And I'm walking towards it at the exact same time. And we're just going to meet at a point in time. Don't know when that's going to be. It's not up for me to decide when that's going to be. But I know as I'm walking towards it, it's walking towards me. Just like I believe that money is a servant to me, not the other way around. Like it's a faithful servant. I love it. It loves me more though. And together we get to co-create, but I'm not just co-creating from a perspective of just money and myself. I'm co-creating with something bigger in the background that's like, hey, Dalton, what about this? Have you thought about this? Like that inspiration or that intuition or whatever we really want to call it, that whisper and that voice, but it is there beforehand, and it has been there my whole life beforehand. So what you say and the way you put those things together in a very logical, cohesive way is brilliant. One thing that you do too that also has changed the way I look at things, and that is how much pleasure can I endure? And being able to say that, it's interesting to watch people's reaction. I'm like, yeah, how much pleasure can you have? They're like, wait, what? Where did that come from? Like, where did this thought came from? You're the first person I've ever heard say that.
Well, I learned from other masters this concept, so I was very fortunate to have learned that. And one thing that's interesting about this topic, if I may jump into it a little bit more, and it connects back to your previous question about spirituality and material world. A lot of people seem to have an unconscious number or a ratio of how much pain versus pleasure they should have. Same with money and spirituality. In their mind, they're like, I can be this much spiritual and this much materialistic. It's all unconscious, and they have it somewhere stored in their mind, which is very interesting because truly to become wealthy and successful in the material world, they have to understand unconsciously or consciously the spiritual laws that govern money, which is actually a set of spiritual laws because they're both tangible and intangible. They connect the two worlds. So when someone's like, oh, I'm just spiritual, I'm not about money, they're neglecting that there's a whole set of spiritual laws that govern wealth. They're like, I'm not going to learn that ever. And then some may argue, well, you can't say that there are people out there that are not doing good things or doing terrible things to humanity, and they have a lot of money. You can't say that they're spiritual. Well, I'm not saying they're spiritual in general, but they have mastered the spiritual laws of money, right? So we got to be able to dissect those things and separate them.
Where would people find those laws? When you say that these laws, what are you referring to?
They need to understand that our minds do create our reality. And if part of that creation includes money, then we can actually create money. And that's obviously a much longer discussion because...
Of course.
Yeah. But in big picture format, that's really it. And when it comes to pleasure, it's the same thing. Some people are like, well, I can only have this much pleasure because I saw my dad sacrifice. I saw my mom sacrifice. They had these health issues. They did this and they did that. And media says this. There's a pandemic and the economy's bad, which is also made up. All of a sudden, they're suffering. They're like, I ought to endure pain through this trial and hard time that the world's going through. Well, if they just come here to Scottsdale and look around, people aren't having a hard time.
No, there's it's like how Hollywood was back in the day, you know, lots of beautiful, nice cars. People are living very abundantly. It's the same thing with healing, right? When we're talking about this, because a lot of times you have somebody that will go and they'll go do healing, and I'll use just examples that I've seen myself, and it's either through personal development or through, you know, ayahuasca retreats or just different things like this. And all of a sudden, they saw the world as a mean place, a hard place, a tough place. And then they come back from this experience and they look around, they're like, man, everyone's so loving. This place is so beautiful. I'm so grateful. Did their reality change or did they change? And I would say it was both, because what it changed internally changed the external. And what you're talking about as far as the creation of wealth or working with the spiritual side and also with the physical side, it's the same thing. It's once that internal conversation changes, you can't, at least I can't see the world any differently. It's like, okay, well, I don't see what you see. I met a woman just recently and she was like, life sucks. Life's always happened to me. It's terrible. And I'm like, says who? Like, what do you mean? Like, you and I have very different realities, and not because I'm any more special than you, but I see the world differently. I wake up
It's a choice.
Gratitude. I wake up just thinking, my God, I can't believe I got to wake up today. Like, it's a miracle that you and I even get to sit here and have this conversation through technology. You know, it's a miracle that we can, and you've talked about this many times, and the magic that we can actually push a button and things appear at our door. Like our forefathers, if people came before us, they would be beyond grateful that they didn't have to go out and go hunt an animal down, or they didn't have to go, you know, figure out how they're going to get their necessities met. They could literally just push a button, exchange with a card. Next thing you know, it shows up at their door. Standing in a place of gratitude, though, for me personally, is really what changes my life constantly. And also making sure that those negative, or I don't want to say negative, but just what's running in the background, the voice, right? Which I don't have a whole lot of anymore, but that voice I hear everybody has a lot of times, it's like, you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't do it, like this negative voice.
That's it.
When you all of a sudden, it's like, no, I love you, you got this, like you can do it, and it's putting in those reps as you've done yourself. I think that's really the beauty in that. So you have a course that you've done, and it's like 100, no, what is it? I can't think what it's called, but where you show people how to.
It's the launch program.
The launch program. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And then can you also let our viewers know how to find that? Because I really do believe if they don't do anything, like if there's anything that this year that they can buy, that they can purchase for very inexpensive, that's going to change their lives, their families' lives, and the generations to come to do the work today, it may seem kind of silly, but it's impactful. Where do they find it? Tell me a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. You know, this course was developed in the most interesting time of Upgrade, because during that time we only had courses that were thousands, if not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now we have a course that's $2 million. Back then we didn't have anything at this price point that launch program is priced at. But we knew that in order for us to upgrade humanity, we need to bring some of the top level training programs, content, and distill it in a way that busy individuals or entrepreneurs or anyone, frankly, around the world can afford and can have the time to watch. So the distillation isn't just price, but also the content. Yet it has daily instructions. The launch program teaches someone not only how to design what they want, but how to project that into their mind. It, in and of itself, is an upgrade to the operating system of their mind so that they can experience some pretty cool things. And let me define what that means. We're not going to guarantee everyone's going to win a house. However, we have a participant that in one of our early versions actually won a house after they designed it from the program that they won a house.
Yeah, we've had Brady on here, and he was telling me all about it. I mean, the first time I met Brady, he explained it to me. I thought, wait, you did what? And he says, yeah, I went in, I designed that I was going to win a house, and the next thing, I won a house. I mean, I don't know anybody that can really say that. So that's powerful. I mean, that's the difference is it's well beyond manifestation. It's manifestation. It's not affirmations. It's none of this BS. And one of the things that I love about you, William, and the course you built, and if our viewers are really paying attention to most of these episodes, what we talk about a lot, and the reason I keep doing this is because it's what shaped my own life, and that is mindset. That is surrounding yourself around the right people. That is making sure you have the right people that have walked the path, that are the firewalkers, that don't just talk about it. They don't just have some book that they've done, but they actually live this. You live what you teach. I've been around you long enough to see that you're not just saying something. You're actually living this. And because you're living it, you know how to get people there. And it's not by selling courses. That's like, you have a lot of other businesses and you have a lot of other things that you do outside of this. But going back a little bit more into your program, but I just wanted to make sure that the viewers at home are very clear why we keep talking about these things, because they actually work. Like, this isn't just, just an idea, and I'm not here. You're not paying me to come on the show to sell something. I just want to be able to share my experiences and my knowledge and what has been gifted to me, because other people have said, hey, you should follow William. Like, this guy's doing some really cool things. I think you would like this. And, they were right. And so I think people should know about what you're doing.
I'm beyond grateful that you're sharing this. Thank you. And so people can find us on our Instagram. It's THEUPGRD. That's the Instagram handle. That's a great place for them to not only see some of our free content, but also be able to jump into on the link in our bio, they can jump into the launch program.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So before we get out of here, my last question to you is this. What do you want to be remembered for?
You know, that's allow me to say a little bit more than just one thing. Is that okay?
Yeah, the mic's yours.
So, I never cared too much to be remembered. I don't want to be remembered as the guy who upgraded humanity. I want to be the guy who actually upgraded humanity with my friends.
Yeah, and that is what I love about you. A while back, I was in a training of yours, and you started describing what it was like to upgrade humanity, what it was like to see world peace, what it was like when all of a sudden the world had shifted and changed by many different coincidences, and some could call them coincidences, but we all know that it's actually pre-planned, it's put together. Like what you do, if someone was to spend time with you on a daily basis, they would see that you literally plan out everything. Like you planned out your wife. Like you literally designed your wife, which the same way you designed your goals. And so I can't wait to upgrade humanity with you. I can't wait to see what we do together. I can't wait to see the impact we make on the planet together. I can't wait to see the lives that we change together. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your world and your program. And I appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your insights and your thoughts and experiences. So hope we do this soon another time.
Absolutely. And allow me to say one finishing thought. I think that, just like you said, in order to actually advance humanity, we have to live some of these principles. And for me to claim that we can help upgrade humanity, I have to set the goals that I would expect our clients and students to set, which are goals that are well beyond their current boundary. So yes, I know I can upgrade clients, a certain group of people or a certain amount of people that come through, but can I set a goal to upgrade humanity, the planet, and beyond? Because if I do, it would require a certain level of skills and advancement in our protocol, and it would be tested well beyond the normal self-development or self-help. This would have to be precise, replicable, and absolutely going to work 100% of the time. So we're putting ourselves in that kind of testing as well as advancement, because I know that the bigger the goal, the quicker and the more quality we're going to be able to produce the final outcome. So I fully enjoy and welcome you into this mission of upgrading humanity. And frankly, absolutely appreciate you for being a part of this goal to help humanity become better. So thank you for having me on here.
I love it, man. Thank you so much for sharing that, to be able to see. I just had so many downloads and so much insights. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go over those things, but thank you again. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.